know they are used to counting down from 10 here in Times Square. It normally marks a new year, but that is not why we're counting down from 10 to 1. It is extra rounds right here on UFC Fight Pass. I'm TJ DeSantis. He is Ray Longo, and we are in the world's most famous city, New York City, right here in the heart of Times Square. Hey, everybody. Again, I'm TJ DeSantis. He is the great Ray Longo, and we're live in Dave & Buster's here in Times Square ahead of UFC 281. It goes down tomorrow night at the world's most famous and iconic arena, Madison Square Garden. Ray Longo, I love this city, and I love seeing you in it.
Come on, man. This is my home.
I mean,
me casa is tu casa.
Thank you. I don't even really know what that means, but I think it means something about my house is yours.
That's
and
it. When you're in New York, you do whatever you want to do.
I mean, this city is an adventure. Every time I step out of the hotel, it's an adventure.
Man, today the traffic's a little wacky, but normally it's a little better than that.
Yeah. Obviously, everyone is on hand here for an exciting UFC pay-per-view event. It goes down tomorrow night in Madison Square Garden. Israel Adesanya takes on Alex Pereira. For Izzy, it is a fight that might define his legacy a little bit, Ray. When I think about it, he's got 2 losses to Pereira in kickboxing, and the fact that that is a different sport, it's also sort of the evening of the playing field, if you will, because normally when you see an athlete come into a fight where he has 2 losses to the same opponent, generally they're going to be the underdog, but that's not the case. Israel Adesanya, I think a minus 180 favorite against Alex Pereira, which is quite interesting. What are your thoughts on the idea that even though he's down 2-0 to the Brazilian, he's still the favorite in this fight?
Well, they're making this obviously an MMA fight, right? So there's more variables that can happen. And, I mean, the other thing is, for Izzy, for his legacy, anytime you could beat a guy that beat you twice, it defines greatness. So this is a big fight for him, even though it is MMA. These guys aren't wrestlers. They're not jiu-jitsu guys per se.
Right.
They're more strikers. So it's curious to see if it'll end up like Ngannou and Zhang, where the deciding round was on the floor. So I'm psyched for the fight. The energy at the weigh-ins was berserk. I don't know if you saw it, but Pereira came in with like a Indian headdress, almost like out of whatever that movie was with Marlon Brando, where they were all painted up in Vietnam. He just looked scary today, so the crowd was going crazy. Big Izzy crowd, which I figured, but the energy is just off the charts. Yeah,
no, 100%. I caught a little bit of the press conference, and the buzz is very palpable. Anytime the UFC comes to Madison Square Garden, there's going to be significant buzz. This is the November show. This is the sort of anniversary show. 29 years the UFC's been around, and it seems like since it's been legalized here in the city of New York, you do that November show in Madison Square Garden. Now, Izzy fighting Pereira, I'm curious if the odds makers are almost disrespecting Pereira a little bit, because yes, I know it's mixed martial arts, but you look at this fight and you think on paper it's going to probably be mostly a kickboxing fight unless we see Adesanya pull a Francis Ngannou, which, by the way, Francis is here. We'll talk to him a little bit later. But do you see Izzy coming out and pulling off a double leg or trying to get the fight to the floor?
Well, look, I think for either of these guys, like if I was coaching them, I would say, look, the past does not equal the future.
Right.
Make this an MMA fight. So for either guy to implement some sort of wrestling, just to get that guy thinking a little bit, might open up the strikes even more. So I think it would be wise for them to push the wrestling. Whether or not they ever get the takedown, they can hold the guy down, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You have to make that guy think it could be coming. And I think for each guy, it's equally beneficial to implement their game.
I'm going to make you make a fight pick before the show is over, and you can, hold up the corresponding head. Look at this. This is great. You've made it to the big time when there are cardboard cutouts of your face. Where's the Ray Longo face? That's what I want to know. So let's talk a little bit about it, though, because I think we've seen a bit of a different change in emotion, at least, when it comes to Israel Adesanya. He talked about making this fight have the theme of a horror movie, which, I mean, he always sort of speaks in interesting ways to engage fans, but to say that's going to be a horror movie, I mean, I don't know what that looks like. Does he have to draw blood to accomplish that?
I think it means he wants to make it a bloody fight. But look, he's going to have to go in there against a guy who can match him up in length. He's already been successful with him standing up.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to back those words up. He's been fighting safe lately against guys that can't strike like this guy. I'm really super psyched to see how this fight plays out, what the game plan they implement, both of them.
You know, I'm curious because we talked about it last week, and I'll show those numbers again before the show is over about what it was like for Izzy on the come up compared to defending his title when it comes to output. But I feel like if we're going to see a more motivated and fired up Israel Adesanya, maybe we see that output pick up even more. Maybe he hunts more for a finish rather than just trying to, win the game, if you will. What are your thoughts on the idea of an athlete fighting with a bit of emotion? Because if you're Nick Diaz or Nate Diaz, it's great. But if for other fighters, it's not always the greatest thing to be propelled and fueled by emotion.
Very, very interesting, TJ. I'm going to say for both guys, for Pereira to go in there thinking he's going to knock him out, and because he's knocked him out and get too overconfident, could spell disaster.
Right.
For Izzy, same thing. If he wants to make a point, he wants to make an over point.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It could work to his disadvantage. I think this is a chess game at the highest level.
Right.
And the firstest with the mostest is the bestest. Whoever gets that big shot off first could very well win the fight.
Is that like Long Island speak? The firstest with the mostest and the bestest?
Can you look? Is there like a Wikipedia?
I don't know. I hang out with our producer Frankie from time to time. He's from Long Island.
Uses that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I need a dictionary, to understand what you guys are saying out there in Long Island. Let's flip the page a little bit and talk about Alex Pereira, who, again, owns 2 wins over Israel Adesanya in kickboxing. But this is a different world, and this is relatively a short sort of opportunity for him when you think about his MMA evolution. When you look at him being a kickboxer, yes, he's established there, but in mixed martial arts, still relatively newcomer. Like, his 8th mixed martial arts fight is in the Mecca, in Madison Square Garden, and he's fighting Israel Adesanya for the belt. Even though he's familiar with Izzy and is a combat sports veteran, is this the right time for someone like Pereira?
Well, it's not, even that he's been around a short period of time. He's been wrecking guys. That's the difference. He's murdering guys on the way up, Izzy. Not Izzy, Pereira. Right? So, look, he's got a great corner. He's got Glover Teixeira. His jiu-jitsu should be on point. He's got great wrestling. I don't know. Is it too soon? He's been around. He's not getting any younger.
Right.
He's got the experience in front of crowds. I think it's a perfect time.
But Madison Square Garden is a little bit different. A little bit different.
It is a little bit different.
And Izzy does have the experience,
yes,
having done that walk before here.
100%. And Izzy, for one thing, he knows how to win fights.
Right.
Even if they're not exciting, he knows how to win. And it'll be interesting. I'm going to say that he probably comes out a little aggressive, gets a little pushback, and then goes back to playing it safe again.
Yeah, no, 100%. We'll see what happens. But, that's the thing. Like, I think about the idea of the advantage, if any, that Pereira has from those previous fights, that we might even see a more conservative Israel Adesanya, which that's saying something because you and I sort of feel the same way, that we've seen him be more conservative as a defending champion rather than a up-and-coming contender.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're going to find out in 24 hours or so.
I know.
And that's the exciting part. Because all these questions get answered. And that's what I love about fighting.
We're hanging out. It's live, extra rounds here from Dave and Buster's in Madison Square Garden. If you don't have tickets, this is the place to be. This is a raucous little area here in Times Square. So definitely, if you can't make it to the show yourself, Dave and Buster's always a good spot to come check things out and take in a fight. And there's nothing like a fight atmosphere, whether you're in the building or whether you're in a bar. Like, fights are something that should be, I think personally, taken in as a community thing.
Listen, TJ, we had a Dave and Buster's by the gym. I've watched many fights with the students,
right.
like with some of the fighters and stuff at Dave and Buster's. It's a great atmosphere. Look at this. The place is packed.
Yeah.
This is a great atmosphere to watch fights, and when the fights are good and the crowd's getting into them, even that much better.
100%. Let's talk about your co-main event tomorrow night. Carla Esparza is back in action. She takes on the former strawweight champion in Zhang Li. Esparza coming off that win over Rose Namajunas earlier this year. And the Madison Square Garden crowd should be pretty familiar with Zhang Li. It was a year ago. She was in a pretty great fight with Rose Namajunas. But I look at Carla Esparza a little bit, Ray, and she is the American fighting, on her homeland. But Zhang Li was the fighter that put on such a great performance against Rose Namajunas. And Esparza's title-clinching victory against Rose was, a bit tactical, if you will. It was plotting. I'm putting it nicely. But when I bring that up because I'm curious, Ray, in your mind, do you think that it's possible that we could see Zhang Li be the fan favorite coming up Saturday night in Madison Square Garden because of her exciting style compared to Esparza's more
TJ,
conservative.
I'm going to tell you something. I just came from the weigh-in.
Yeah.
Trust me, Carla Esparza got booed.
Right.
Whaley got cheered from the whole crowd, which is crazy.
Well,
it's crazy, but I'm just telling you what happened.
It's quite a turn of events when you look at, when Rose fought Zhang Weili down in Jacksonville, because, Zhang Weili talked about how it was odd and felt cumbersome to have the crowd boo her. She felt a bit out of her element, and now it's, I guess, the roles are reversed a little bit. The Chinese fighter's the fan favorite here in New York.
Listen, I was part of when Aljo fought Peter Yan.
Right.
I mean, for me, the American guy got booed. Aljo got booed. Peter Yan got more of the applause. So I think, look, the MMA crowd is fickle.
Right.
They get behind their people no matter what's going on in the world. Right? They get behind who they like, and I guess that's the bottom line.
I think it's American fans that are more that way. I think other, nations fans are a little more. Yeah. So I don't know.
We're discombobulated is what you're saying.
One thing I will say, though, is I think that American fans tend to lean towards the front runner a little bit. They like the favored fighter. And let's take a look at the odds, courtesy of DraftKings, because the odds for that co-main event, it has the challenger as your favorite. Minus 330 is the line there on Zhang Weili. Carla Esparza at plus 275. Talked about our main event. Israel Adesanya is the minus 210 favorite to Alex Pereira's plus 180. We're going to talk about this Dustin Poirier and Michael Chandler fight here in just a brief moment. But if you are looking to get a little skin in the game over at DraftKings, you should do so right now. DraftKings Sportsbook is the official sports betting partner of the UFC. New customers can make a moneyline bet of $5 or more and get $200 in free bets if your fighter wins at UFC 281. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today. Use code FIGHT PASS and get on the action at UFC 281. So go do that. It helps us support the show a little bit. Getting back to our co-main event, I'm curious. I tend to think that if Carla Esparza is going to pull the upset against Zhang Weili, she's going to have to be aggressive. It was something that she wasn't in the Rose Namajunas fight, and I think Rose allowed her to sort of get ahead on the judges' scorecards because she didn't force the action either. So buy or sell, Ray Longo. Is aggression the key to a Carla Esparza victory?
Unequivocally.
Yeah.
Unequivocally. She's got to get the takedowns over and over and over again, beat her up on the floor if she's going to win. I think standing up-wise, she'll be, at a disadvantage.
Right.
But she'll have the advantage on the floor.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too. Like, I think about this fight. Both are former champions. Well, Carla's the reigning champion, but this is a good fight when you talk not only about the status of the strawweight division, but this is a fight for legacy as well. You have Carla, a two-time champion, taking on Zhang Weili, who wants to be the champion once again. This fight is going to go a long way in sort of penning the reputation that these athletes will leave when they're done fighting.
Yeah, and again, Carla, what she has to go up against is an uneventful title win. I mean, the girl got booed, in her own country.
Yeah.
That's not a good sign. And
No.
she does nothing social media-wise to, deserve that. She's a nice person with a nice team. But people want action, man.
Yeah.
They just that thing did not sit well. Plus, Rose was always well liked.
It's true.
So it's a double whammy.
Yeah.
Right. There was a crazy, uneventful fight. You got the win. The person everybody likes didn't. So she's got to deal with that, I think. More. I mean, and she should be. She's a professional. She should be able to, put it aside. But it's got to be lingering in the back of her head. She doesn't want two of those in a row.
Right. No, 100%. And also, too, I think what is lingering in the back of the heads of the odds makers for this fight is, remember when Carla Esparza fought Joanna Jędrzejczyk? It was a blitzing from Jędrzejczyk, and it, she went out there and throttled Esparza and took her belt. I think some people are thinking that Zhang Weili is going to bring that fire and fury and try to do the exact same thing.
I'm one of them. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think she stuffs a couple of takedowns. Esparza gets a little tired. This kid's aggressive.
Yeah.
She's definitely going to go for it. And I think it's a good fight for Weili. I think that's why she's a heavy favorite.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens tomorrow night. That is your co-main event. Your featured fight, right under it, really could be a main event on any other card. It is Dustin Poirier taking on Michael Chandler, two of the most exciting and most stand-up guys, I think, in mixed martial arts. When I look at Dustin Poirier, this guy just he is essentially what you would write as far as a hero is concerned in a movie. Always doing the things with the Good Fight Foundation, very entertaining, very stand-up guy. And it was interesting. We were talking about this last week. Michael Chandler and Dustin Poirier got in each other's faces prior to this fight being made. now that we're like closer to this fight actually happening, Ray, I really do believe that was just a tactic to make the matchmakers go, you know what, that's the fight, no-brainer, right there.
No question about it. I mean, what was it over? Hot sauce or
something like that?
I mean, these are two of the nicest guys in MMA. They got a little snippy. That's about it, man. That'll be they'll carry none of that into the ring. They're both entertainers. They're both professional. They've both been around. They're both exciting.
Right.
No one's ever been in a bad fight. It's crazy.
No, 100%. You know, I'm curious your thoughts on this fight. When I look at Dustin Poirier compared to Michael Chandler and just their striking acumen alone, like Poirier is much more of a kickboxing type of fighter. Even though Chandler's coming off that front kick knockout of Tony Ferguson, like if this is a kickboxing affair, I lean towards Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I mean, look, Chandler, I'd love to see him go back, implement his wrestling because he's got those big strikes. You know, he's got the power in both hands for one-shot power. The other, you know, Dustin's got to throw more volume, I think, and break you down, which he's been doing his whole life. So, yeah, I agree with you, but I don't know. I don't know where I'm leaning on this fight. I know this is going to be the fight that guarantees fireworks.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, and like I said, like this is a fight that's a main event on any other card, and you know, as far as pound for pound fights are concerned in this card, I think there's a lot of people that would say that's the fight they want to see if they can only see one on this card, honestly. So we'll see what happens. I know Francis Ngannou's to my right here. He's lingering. What do they call it? Waiting in the wings right now?
Yeah, don't get him aggravated.
I don't want to.
Whatever you do, please. No, whatever you do, don't even look at him.
Trust me.
Don't make eye contact.
I hear you. I hear you. Let me bring him in right now. Put this on if you can, Francis. Let's go. Go this way. I got to scooch over a little bit.
Buddy? How you been? Good. Got
to get it all framed up here. Frankie's working hard.
Frankie, let's go.
There he is. UFC heavyweight champion of the world, Francis Ngannou, kind enough to give us a few moments here on Extra Rounds. Francis, how are you?
I'm doing good. How yourself?
You know, when I think about yourself, like you've had such a journey throughout your life and in mixed martial arts, and you know now you capture that UFC belt. It's been a little while since we've seen you in the octagon. What has life been like since capturing that championship?
Well, it's been more about like recovery. You know, I had a surgery right after that, but life has been good. You know, I've been very positive, and I feel like everything is going well. At some point in the sport, you're gonna expect that you get caught by something like that. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you're out here at Dave & Buster's today. It's Howlerhead meet and greet. Do you like getting out and meeting with the fans? Is that something that you look forward to?
Sometime, when it's not too much.
Right,
but,
sure.
I mean, it's always good to interact with fans, with people, and then give a little bit of your time. You know, it's cool to see like he always like reminds you that what you're doing good. Right. Yeah.
Sure. You know, when I look at some fighters still get like that anxiety when they're in town during fight week. Obviously, it's not your fight, but do you get like motivated? Do you get that itch to fight?
I was sitting at the weigh-in today, and was telling Kamaru next to me the same thing. Like, I don't know, man. Like, looking at it, I don't feel like I do it. I have anxiety. I'm like,
really?
I do this all the time. You know, it feels weird.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not the first time that it happened to me. So it's a pretty normal feeling for every human being.
What do you think, Red? Do you get you want to throw down when you walk in and see the octagon, and you're not cornering or fighting ever?
I agree with him. There's certain times and there's certain situations where it could get a little wacky. For sure, you know. And I definitely have anxiety, so you know. But I do love talking to the people and taking pictures and shit. So, you know. But today was a little weird because I wanted to get an Uber and nobody would leave me alone.
Oh,
so then it gets crazy. But,
life must be rough when you're world famous like
he
this.
He has such a pleasant way of speaking. I could listen to this guy talk all day long. I don't know if it's your accent, but you have I find that with foreigners too, like Marab and my gym. I think you're just grateful for everything you have, and it makes everything else easy. I don't know.
I don't know either. Maybe just when you're relaxed, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. You got a very chill way about you for a guy who can kill somebody.
Seriously, you know,
everybody can kill somebody.
Everybody can kill. You're right.
Well, some easier than others. All right,
but you can just kill somebody by looking at them. That's the difference.
That is very true. You know, Let's talk about your mindset a little bit, Francis, because, obviously, coming out and meeting the fans, it's something that you have to do as any fighter in the spotlight. But do you feel like you have to live up to certain expectations now that you're the champion?
No, at certain expectation. I think like as every human being, and you start to grow up, get to the point that maybe you look back and see like your little brothers and maybe some kid around, and basically like when you're doing some activities that kind of like expose you to the world, I think you have a responsibility to behave yourself in certain way in order to like prove them, give them a good example. Because like when you look at it, growing up, you also like maybe look up to somebody and then want to be that person so bad because you admire that person. So the behavior of that person definitely at some point affect your own behavior. So if you think about it, I'm like, okay, if this is how it's working, at least I make it some positive impact on him, because either way I'm gonna make an impact. So I have an opportunity here to make the impact positive or negative.
And one quick question: who did you look up to when you were growing up as an athlete?
Well, I look up to people. I have like two people in my family, two or three people in my family that I really look up into. People that you can know them at all, because like, but I have like this half brother of my dad, and then a cousin of my mom, and my uncle. There was those three people that I really like look up to them. Now I'm like, I have like to become a man like those guys. Like the half brother of my dad, he was a Jehovah Witness. That's how they.
Yeah.
And then in the family, they kind of like push him away. Not like push him away, but everybody was like careful about it. But I look at him and see how he carry himself as a man, behave himself. Then I'm like, I never want to be a Jehovah Witness, but I tell myself like, okay, if this what Jehovah Witness make people like, then I think that's the best religion. Because the guy, still this day, I admire him a lot because he was a very good guy, and my dream was just to become as good as him, or closer at least.
That's great. Awesome.
Really good.
UFC heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou, kind enough to give us a few moments here at Dave & Buster's in Times Square. It's Extra Rounds. I'm TJ DeSantis. He is Ray Longo. You mentioned your surgery after your last fight. How is healing and recovery gone?
He's going well. Probably taking more time than what I thought, because he was two ligament, ACL and MCL full reconstruction. But and it's been almost 8 months. So according to the doctor, everything is going well. Obviously, I'm not 100%, but we are getting there. I feel the improvement, and the doctor is happy. He thinks everything is in the place.
So the show obviously goes on while you're on the sidelines. Ciryl Gane, who you last fought, he pulled off a really big win against Tai Tuivasa. Did you watch that performance of Ciryl?
Yeah, I was in Paris.
Okay, so what did you think of that?
It was a great performance. Both of them, they put a hell of a show, though.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were in Paris that night, but that was a hell of a show, and very entertaining. The crowd was very happy because it was the first UFC event in Paris, and everybody was excited, and they put on a hell of a show. Like, it was great.
Ray and I actually broke that fight down, if you remember, on Extra Rounds. And, maybe it's just sort of gut instinct, but, we're a reaction to sort of community as far as what might be next for a champion. And on that night, Ciryl looked like he was still potentially the number one contender, even though you just dispatched him. Do you think that he is maybe next in line? Do you think that there are other, names that stick out?
Yeah, I think there is name. Stipe is still out there. I don't know why they are not talking about Stipe. They are not hearing from him, but Stipe is still out there. John is there. Obviously, Ciryl Gane is there.
Yep.
Curtis Blade is there, which been calling Ciryl out. I don't know how that's going.
Right.
I'm very excited to see that fight.
Yeah. What do you think about John Jones at heavyweight? A lot of people have been sort of predicting what he would look like compared to, at 205 pounds. In his last couple of fights at 205, he has looked different than the earlier part of his career. Do you think that John is primarily the same fighter at heavyweight if he moves up?
John Jones is a hell of a fighter. We can't argue that. As far as I'm concerned, he's the best that I've ever done the sport. You know, so if he's moved, first of all, if he take the decision to move to heavyweight division, he knows what he's doing.
Right.
You know, he's not taking a desperate decision. He's taking a decision that to move because he wants to move. You know, like because he didn't lose. You know, so he decided to move to heavyweight division. So I think he knows exactly what he's doing. He's very careful. But once again, what John wants, only John Jones knows.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, bringing it back to the fight that we got coming up tomorrow night in our main event here for the middleweight championship. Israel Adesanya takes on a familiar foe in Alex Pereira. Ray was actually talking about how this fight could be similar to your fight with Ciryl Gane in the sense that, you know, we were calling you Francis NCAA Ngannou that night. You were pulling off the wrestling moves and things like that. Do you think that Izzy might have something up his sleeve for Pereira as far as, you know, takedowns or get him thinking about the ground game more than just a kickboxing affair?
I do think so. I mean, I don't know what is his game plan, but I was thinking like if I was him, that's something that I would do because he's good enough. He never had an opportunity to showcase his wrestling and anything, and this might be it. And Izzy is very wise, and I'm sure he has it figured out. I don't know what is the formula, the winning formula, but I'm sure he has this figured out. But we can see anything coming out of Izzy from this fight. So I wouldn't be surprised if Izzy win this fight in wrestling or whatever, submission or I don't know. Obviously, we all count on him on like the knockout and a decision, but
right,
it could be either way.
And let me, in your fight with Ciryl Gane, was that part of the game plan, or was it something that was organic that just presented itself and you felt like this was the right thing to do at the time?
The real game plan was to me not to fight. That was the game plan.
Oh, that's another.
That's
you were
the
injured, right? With that? Is that what you're saying? Because you were injured, or?
Yeah. So
yeah.
like from when I get injured, like 3 weeks and a half ago, there wasn't a game plan because nobody believed that would have happened. I mean, obviously, people around me, my coaches, my friends, nobody was saying it like out loud or straight, but everybody was trying to say like, you know, you don't have to do this.
Do you feel you were forced into
and
that
even,
fight?
No. Everybody was telling me not to fight,
okay.
so I wasn't.
So the coaches
forced.
they want
your
best interest at heart.
Everybody like really, and that was the right decision though. I mean, everybody in his right mind would think like that because now that we are talking about it after the fight that I have won, yes, it seems like it was okay, but he was pretty bad. You know, even me, I was like, okay, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know this, but I think at some point it was more about my anger or something. So I get frustrated, so I wasn't going back.
And what do you think of like what I had Aljamain, my guy Aljamain Sterling with TJ Dillashaw? Do you think TJ was that a smart move what he did to go in there with basically one arm against a guy as dangerous as Aljo?
Well, I watched that fight and closely. And I saw that even in the first takedown, TJ was hurt. He couldn't move. But I'm gonna tell something, and I give him TJ a lot of respect for that, for taking that fight and for showing up and for not giving up. You know, we saw that from the first minute to the end of the fight. Like he was taking it and he wasn't looking at somebody that's gonna quit. Quit. You know. Right. So I give a lot of respect to TJ for that. But then I look at the fight in the technical way. I see the way that Aljo was fighting, the way that Aljo was like changing level, taking down. I mean, his shoulder didn't have anything to do on that. Right. And then I don't care if you have 2 shoulder in the place or 3 shoulder. Aljo get TJ on the back, in the ground. Yeah, he's in the trouble. Yeah, you know, so
I agree.
I mean, that was a problem for TJ, but I don't think that would take anything out of Aljo's performance at all. And that's what I saw from that fight that night.
All right, so we got a pretty good crowd here inside Dave & Buster's as we march toward UFC 281. TJ DeSantis, Ray Longo, Francis Ngannou, we are hanging out. I'm going to give you, Ray Longo, that, and I'm going to give you, Francis Ngannou, that, and we're going to talk about this fight real quick. Featured fight. So you got Poirier, you got Chandler.
Yeah.
Now let's hold this one up. I want to know the fans who's siding with Ray Longo. I don't know if this is really Ray's pick. Who's siding with Ray Longo until Poirier wins? Okay.
Wait,
All right.
no, wait. No, Chandler's my friend. Give me that.
Okay, we'll reverse it.
No.
Oh, no, okay. All right. So who's siding with Francis
Who's going to
Ngannou?
argue with Francis?
Yeah.
I think I'm just going to go with Francis Ngannou, no matter who he picks, because the man's
Yeah,
terrifying. So,
sure, right?
You like Chandler in that fight?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I mean, they both are very tough. I mean, I have saw Poirier lately, and I think this is gonna be the fight of the night.
Without a doubt.
You know, like
Without a doubt.
the only fight that has a potential to take the fight of the night of these two people,
Yeah.
I think, is Carla and Wiley.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, I have a lot of expectation in that fight.
Oh.
Those two, they are crazy. They are just monsters. They're just gonna go out there, beat the hell out of each other.
Wow. Well, that's
Like,
interesting.
All right.
they're savages.
We got to let Francis go here in less than 1 minute, so I'm going to give you those, Ray. I'm going to give you those, Francis. We'll start with Ray. Who you taking in the co-main event? There we go, Zhang Weili. Who's with that? I can't hear you guys. Who's with that? Come on.
Let's hear you.
That's the favorite, guys. All right. Now with you. Okay. Now you main event, Francis. Who we got? Israel Adesanya from Francis Ngannou.
Of course.
Everyone agrees.
Of course.
Francis, I appreciate the time, sir. Thanks for stopping by.
Oh, you're welcome.
Enjoy your time here in New
It was
York.
a pleasure.
Appreciate it.
Really nice talking to you,
Thank you.
Francis. Good
Nice
seeing you.
talking to you.
The best in the business in the heavyweight class. It is Francis Ngannou, kind enough to join us here on Extra Rounds. Appreciate that. There we go. Now we're getting into it. It's early still, Ray. I don't think these people have come out of their shells quite yet. Yeah, you're good. Thank you. So, Ray Longo.
Yeah.
I want to get a little bit deeper in on this fight with you on Dustin Poirier and Michael Chandler. I want to get your thoughts on keys to victory. I did my best coaching prognostication, if you will. Put on my coaching cap and tried to write down some keys to victory for this fight. Keys to victory for Dustin Poirier, if he's going to get the win. I think he needs to utilize his kickboxing skills. Is that true or not?
100% true.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to agree on that one. How about this one? Dustin Poirier, don't fight with emotion. Don't try to get the better of the fight from an entertainment standpoint. What do you think?
Agree. I don't think anybody should fight with
Right,
emotion.
right, okay.
Unless you could channel that emotion.
Well, I mean, like
into-
Nick Diaz, he's a guy that has to hate you to fight you.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
But it never changes the way you fight. That's just
That's true.
them.
That's
I
true.
don't think
That's
that-
true.
I don't even think that's emotion at this point.
All right, Michael Chandler's key to victory. Fight to win the fight again, not the fans, because he's a guy who likes to entertain. He's the guy who wants to get on the mic and be all popular. And
I tell you,
you know?
DJ, your prognosticating hat is crazy.
I know.
Because I agree 100%.
it's pretty much the same one as the last one, but that's all right. And then this one, Michael Chandler's key to victory: control the clinch, where we see Dustin Poirier maybe try to take over with kickboxing. Michael Chandler, a standout wrestler at Mizzou, he needs to be a wrestler a little bit.
He's got to wrestle and win this fight, I believe.
See, I worry a little bit about Chandler, who did that push kick to the face on Tony Ferguson. You know, when you knock out a guy in devastating fashion, sometimes you want to live up to those expectations.
I could see it with Hooker and then he knocked down.
Yeah.
Those were punches that were kind of set up.
Sure.
This kick looked like he just flicked up in the air and
Yeah.
happened to hit something.
Yeah,
So
all
I don't
right.
think he's going to fall in love with his kicks.
All right.
But he 100% has fallen in love with his hands.
That's why you're the coach, and I'm just a guy who writes things down.
Your prognosticating was great.
Thank you.
I
Let's
loved
talk about future Hall of Famer, Frankie Edgar. He makes a walk to the octagon for the final time. You know, I saw him at the press conference. I did not get to see the weigh-in today, Ray, but, you know, this is a guy that has been in the UFC for as long as I can remember at this point. Made his debut at UFC 67. He can't really go anywhere in New York City without having the fans chant his name. I know he's a Jersey guy, but when I look at Frankie Edgar, I might tear up a little bit. Win, lose, or draw for the answer when he goes out there on Saturday.
I'm with you again, TJ. And at the weigh-in, I got to tell you, I think he deserved a standing ovation. He didn't get it, but I assume he will get it at the Garden. This is a kid who's an icon in the sport. He's a legend, whatever word you want to use. But he just was always an undersized guy that was just doing big things because of his heart, his will, his determination. Those Gray Maynard fights were completely insane.
Amazing.
Just an honor for him to retire at Madison Square Garden, and I think he's getting out at the right time.
100%. Let's take a look at some of quick facts about Frankie Edgar's career. Right now stands at 24-10-1. Obviously, a former UFC lightweight champion, which is crazy when you think about how low he's fought, as of recent. He made his UFC debut back in February 2007, tied for the most fight of the night bonuses at 8, and he holds the all-time record for total fight time. Think about this, 7 hours, 55 minutes, and 9 seconds in the octagon. Like, I haven't even had a real job for that long. I've always just done stupid stuff with microphones and talking about MMA, but like Frankie Edgar has put real work in the octagon and, almost a full 8-hour day. It's crazy.
That's why he's the man. That's why he's a legend. That's why he's a Hall of Famer. And just well-deserved, man. He's that little engine that just wouldn't stop trying or whatever that
right, the little engine that could,
he just kept going and going. And think about it, like you said, at 55 is where he had his greatest success.
Yeah. Andy beat BJ Penn, who still in my book is top 2 or 3 lightweights of all time.
And even the Benson Henderson fights, I think they could
very
have won
very close fights. Yeah,
they kind of forced him to go down. That might have been his undoing.
And I'll even say this: when he fought Jose Aldo, had that fight been a 7-round fight, I think that Frankie Edgar would have won because he started to take over in the 4th round. You know what I mean? And time wasn't on his side. So, Frankie is a guy that also, too, really sort of was a trailblazer. I remember when he was managed by Sherry Spencer, who also managed George St. Pierre. They were the first 2 to really wear suits and conduct themselves that way in that press conference environment. And, man, it's going to be hard to see Frankie walk away and leave the gloves in the octagon.
Great career, loved by everybody for a reason, never talked shit, always backed everything up with his fists. Never was in a boring fight. I can't say enough about the guy. He just deserves everything he gets moving on in life. He's got a great family. Let him enjoy his kids. He's still young enough to do that. And I think he's getting out at the right time. And he's got nothing else to prove in this sport. Nothing.
Yeah, no, 100%. He's Ray Longo. I'm TJ DeSantis. We are live inside Dave & Buster's right here in Times Square in New York City. Ray, you got to work tomorrow though. You're doing your thing.
We got a big fight. I'm all over the place this weekend. I don't know what I'm doing.
Tell me what you got going on. Tell the world what are you doing tomorrow?
We got Matt the Steamroller Frivola.
Best nickname I think in MMA. I'm serious.
What about his father, the Bulldozer?
Oh, that's pretty good too. That's pretty good too.
But going up against an undefeated power puncher, Ottoman Azar, I expect it to be a very smart fight by Frivola. We've been working on a couple of things. We'll see if they come to fruition. But he had a great camp, and I think he's going to put on a great show.
We talk all the time about competing inside Madison Square Garden for athletes, but what is it like for you to make that walk in the corner? Is it extra special for you to be in the Mecca?
I mean, I think it is. But I'll tell you, nothing, because I'm from Long Island, even though it's New York, nothing was more surreal than walking out with Weidman at Nassau Coliseum.
Yeah.
The whole place was berserk.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? So this feels great because, to do anything, to coach at Madison Square Garden, to fight at Madison Square Garden, it's just a big thing because everybody, attaches, greatness to it. But the Coliseum thing was unbelievable.
Sure.
I'm telling you, that crowd, you could ask Anik, he never heard anything like it.
I believe it.
That was more special because I'm from Long Island, but anytime you're in the Garden doing anything is unbelievable.
But I think, just the idea that none of it would be possible if it weren't for the state of New York legalizing mixed martial arts. And it was really the last pin to fall in so many ways. And, it's been, 5 or 6 years now that it's been legal here in New York. And I still feel like there's something special every time we talk about the Octagon hitting New York State.
Yeah, well, I think they're smart in doing it like once or twice a year because, you don't overplay it, right? And you don't get burnout. But, there's some. Look, it's New York. The place is mobbed. We're at Dave & Buster's. The crowd is crazy.
Right. You can't even walk around here, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a
UFC city.
New York City.
Yeah.
Even for the other fighters to come here, just as much as it is to coach in the Garden, is for the fighters to come and walk down Times Square and go everywhere, do everything. City that never sleeps. It ain't sleeping tonight, tomorrow night, or the next night.
One thing I will say about New York City, I've been here now for about three or 4 days, and the city feels like a theme park, right? Like it just feels like unlike any other city I've ever been to.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm sure you've been to a lot of cities too. Some of the cities are 3 or 4 blocks, right?
Seriously,
this is a theme park. It really is. And you walk down, you're going to see things that you never saw before.
Good and bad. Good and bad.
Good and bad.
That's one thing I'll say. You say other cities are like 3 or 4 blocks. Like, no offense to Columbus, Ohio. I love Columbus, Ohio. But after 5 p.m. in Columbus, Ohio, downtown is dead.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go eat. There's nothing going on. In New York City, not the case.
Well, Minnesota, too, has a small city, right?
That's true.
I mean, I think, what is that, St. Paul?
Minneapolis, St. Paul, the Twin Cities.
Yeah.
We got two of them.
I was down there.
I never go to St. Paul, ever. I always go to Minneapolis, but, also dead at like 7 p.m.
Isn't that crazy?
It's weird. It's weird.
Go take a walk at 3 in the morning tonight. See if it's dead.
I don't know if I can.
No, but see if it's dead.
No, it's not dead.
Yeah.
I went out last night at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
Wasn't dead.
Not dead.
It's always people there. Always people there.
And it's funny how quickly it bounced back because COVID, the streets were barren.
Yeah.
The minute came back with a vengeance. You can't kill this city.
No.
And you can't kill the heart of the people in this city.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. One thing that I think is synonymous with New York is your guy Al Quinta. I think he's going to be joining me tomorrow right here at Dave & Buster's. I hope.
He better.
You got to get him if he doesn't. You got to.
I'm working on him.
Run him through the drills a little bit.
This is exciting, man. I didn't even anticipate
Isn't it fun?
this myself. 100%.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just me sitting in my spare bedroom at home. We're out with the people.
I'm proud of you. I'm actually proud to see you do your thing with like a professional setup.
Believe it or not, I'm a professional.
Very impressive.
Yeah,
you should feel great about yourself.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you. What do you got going on tonight?
I'm on my way to. We're going to celebrate Aljo's victory. We got a couple of guys that couldn't make Abu Dhabi that wanted to take everybody out to dinner, so I'll be going to dinner. Quinta, Sarah, everybody will be there. And we're just looking to chill out and have a great time.
Well, Ray, I'm going to let you get to it.
Awesome. You're the best, man.
I appreciate it. Ray Longo, kind enough to join me here on Extra Rounds. You can catch him in studio on Extra Rounds and also one-fourth of the Anakin Florian podcast. What are you? I mean, he's the only reason I tune in.
I thought it was a half. I thought it was up
maybe.
to a half.
I don't know. Half of the Anakin Florian podcast. Thank you, Ray.
Awesome.
Nice
thanks,
you,
TJ. Awesome. Great seeing you.
All right. That's Ray Longo. I'm TJ DeSantis. We are live here again, hanging out for UFC 281. It is your main event tomorrow night. Israel Adesanya. He defends his middleweight title against a familiar foe in Alex Pereira. Adesanya, he's got some unfinished business. He's down 2-0 in the series, at least in kickboxing, against Alex Pereira. We'll see if he can right that wrong a little bit in the world of mixed martial arts. But Pereira, again, has got to have some confidence on his side as he does own a knockout victory and a decision victory over Adesanya. But it is the last style bender who holds the lead when it comes to the odds, minus 210 for Izzy. In your main event, the comeback on the underdog Pereira at plus 180. Carla Esparza defending her strawweight championship for the first time in her second stint as strawweight queen. She takes on Zhang Weili. Weili is the favorite, minus 330. The comeback on the underdog champion Esparza, plus 275. Dustin Poirier taking on Michael Chandler, minus 215 for the diamond. The comeback on the underdog Chandler, plus 185. And then it is the final answer for Frankie Edgar as he takes on Chris Gutierrez. Frankie plus 195, the underdog to Gutierrez. And Dan Hooker, he rounds out the card, minus 150 for the hangman. He takes on Claudio Puelles. Hooker at minus 150. The comeback on Puelles is plus 130. Of course, our friends at DraftKings, making it worth your time. DraftKings Sportsbook is the official sports betting partner of the UFC. New customers can make a moneyline bet of $5 or more and get $200 in free bets if your fighter wins at UFC 281. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use code FIGHT PASS and get in on the action at UFC 281. Again, I'm TJ DeSantis. Thank you for joining us. We are live on YouTube and Facebook. And, of course, you can get the entire archive over on UFC Fight Pass. It actually reminds me, if you go over to Fight Pass and sign up, first month is 50% off. Just use the promo code Extra Rounds. So go do it if you're not signed up already. Hanging out here, I think we're going to be joined by Barstool Sports, White Sox Dave here in a moment. Going to talk about some trivia, by the way. We got a Francis Ngannou signed a bit of memorabilia. We're going to talk about that and give that away. We got this Michael Chandler, Tony Ferguson, Matt that they fought on at UFC 274, I think it was, in Phoenix. So we'll look into getting that away. I don't know what we're going to do. Oh, there it is, right here. Check this out. Put it on camera right here. Look at this. shiny. But you can see the mat right there. You can get you can actually get this too. UFC collectibles. We've got a bunch of great collectibles, authenticated and all that stuff. But this part of the mat where we saw Michael Chandler pull off one of the more improbable kicks in mixed martial arts history. And again, we're going to give this away to one lucky fan. If I do that, that works a lot better. You can see it right there. These collectibles are something special as well, to say the least. I was actually talking about this on Fight Pass Friday the other day. There were these UFC poker chips that came out at UFC 45. There were 10 of them honoring some of the UFC greats from years past, and they're selling for like $150 a poker chip right now, and it's like $1,000 for the whole set. That's just a poker chip that they gave to people that bought the pay-per-view. So what that's going to be worth here in like 15, 20 years, I'm not sure. Uh-oh. Here we go. Let's put that on right there. I think it's this one. White Sox Dave, kind enough to join us. How are you, sir?
I'm great. I'm trying to figure out what you guys want with me here.
Well, I mean, you're a White Sox fan. I'm a Twins fan, so.
You know what? I just saw a tweet today that said the Twins are going to be going all in for big free agents this winter, and the White Sox aren't. It almost makes me want to root against the White Sox, but it is what it is.
We're going to try to get that camera sorted out here. I mean, we're in New York, so everybody's going to say, like, Yankees, Red Sox, greatest rivalries in baseball. I think the rivalry in the early 2000s against the Twins and the White Sox.
Oh, yeah.
Right there.
It was a great rivalry. I always talk about how I hate the Cubs, I hate the Yankees. But
right.
The AL Central, it's kind of cyclical depending on who's good. So right now, I don't even really hate I was about to say the old name, the Guardians. I don't hate them as much right now.
Right.
Because I hate the White Sox so much right now and what they've done to me over the last handful
of years. That's a real baseball fan right there.
That's a real baseball fan. And that's people. I'm the biggest White Sox fan on earth, but I also hate the team. Okay. I used to hate the Twins. Hated them.
That makes my heart so warm.
But that's how it should be, right?
Of course.
That's how it should be.
But you know what? You know what, Dave? We can both agree that the Cubs suck.
They do. I think we'll see what they do this winter. I think they should be anteing up for a Judge or a Trey Turner or a Carlos Correa, but
right.
I don't know that they will. They should be, though. They should. If I was running that organization, they would be getting one of those big dogs.
Yeah. I mean, how much do you live and breathe with the White Sox in your heart? Like, if they're below 500, are you just like an irritable person to be around?
You should ask my coworkers that.
Yeah.
They would say that I am, yeah.
Yeah.
They would say that I am.
See, I like that.
It ruins my life when even growing up. Prior to the internet becoming a thing, like I grew up in the 90s.
Right.
So every morning I would run down the street to the gas station. I'd steal 50 cents from my parents' change bucket. I'd go get the newspaper. I'd fan out the sports section. Sports Center would be on in the background, and I'd be just like studying the standings, studying all the statistics. Then the internet became a thing, and then obviously it's turned into a career for me now. The White Sox are my number one love in life, I would say, after my dog.
Okay.
It goes dog, White Sox, family, and then friends I can do without. I don't need them.
Yeah, I mean,
I got like 4 friends. That's all I need.
I'm right there with you.
Right.
I'm right there with you. One thing I will say, you actually judge others' ability to be a White Sox fan based on their behavior as well. Tell me a little bit about that.
I'm assuming you're about to reference the John Cusack
of course.
beef. Yeah. You can't be a White Sox fan. Like he always parades around, and especially when the White Sox or Cubs are in the playoffs, obviously whoever the broadcast is, whether it's TBS or Fox or whoever, they always pan to the local celebrity. It doesn't even have to be Chicago. It could be whatever city. And they pan to the local celebrities in the crowd. One year it'll be John Cusack rocking that blue and red Cubs hat. The next year he's front and center. You can't. It's impossible to be a diehard fan of both teams. We're one of 3 cities in the nation with 2 teams. Kind of LA, even though Anaheim. Yeah, I mean,
I live in Orange County. Anaheim's not LA.
You get what I'm saying.
Right. No, I feel you.
Same market-ish.
Right. Sure.
And you pick one and you hate the other, and I think that's like 99% the part of being or having fun as a sports fan is hating other teams. Not in like an actual physical way, because like half my best friends are Cubs fans, you know. But it's fun to, like, I don't want my friends that are not White Sox fans to see success because that means I'm not.
I'm with you.
And it's fun to bust balls back and forth like that,
I
you
mean,
know?
I've had friends of mine be like, so who's your National League team?
No,
I don't have a National League
what?
team.
There is none.
No. Did the Twins move to the
It's
National League?
whoever's
I don't
playing
think so.
the White Sox, the Tigers, or the Guardians. That's
Yeah,
your National
exactly.
League team is, you know?
100%.
Right.
Right. So we're with one another.
We're on the same page
Yeah.
here.
So are you starting to grow that same sort of fandom for MMA?
I absolutely am. So, not to brag, but I bought a house I closed on March 1st. First house I've ever owned on my own. And in the handful of months leading up to that purchase, I was like in strict do not spend money mode.
Okay.
So, it kind of trickled down a little bit. Starting in 2019, I got hit up by Aljamain Sterling's team,
Right.
Curtis Blade's team, and we went to this. I was explaining to Walker over there. We went to this. It was like a video game bay, not an arcade, but it's like people come in and log in and play Call of Duty and stuff like that. It was really weird. I didn't know those things exist, but apparently they do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started. Hey, I don't hang out with Curtis Blades or Aljamain Sterling, but I hung out with them one time, and Curtis Blades has been on my podcast a couple times. And I just started following them, and especially Curtis as a Chicago guy and a Southside guy, White Sox fan, and just like kind of on an ancillary level following them, seeing what they're doing, what they're up to. And then as 2020 wore on, you guys were the only show in town. There was no live sports other than you guys.
Yeah.
I actually wrote a blog about it. I'll try digging it up and sending it to you guys. But I was like, holy shit. Like, this fucking Dustin Poirier. Can we swear?
Yeah, you can.
I thought we could.
We've crossed that bridge already.
Already.
Let's go.
I'm like, this Dustin Poirier guy's awesome. Like, you guys, and everyone's like, you are about 8 years too late, man. And I just went through his entire ascension up to being a champion on YouTube and everything. And then 2021 came. Same thing, just watching every Saturday during the pandemic and all that. And then I really, really, really started getting into it at the beginning of this year. And it's at the point where I don't care what I'm doing on a Saturday night. I'm watching that fight card.
Right, yeah.
And I'm texting all the boys about it, like what's going on and everything. So as novice a fan I am, which is an extreme novice. I know we're doing a little trivia contest later. Whoever the fan is, I'm sure he's going to completely mop the floor with me. But it's such an entertaining sport, and it's really cool to watch as an outsider who works in social media himself what you guys do on that, because it's a sport born bred for social media, you know. And I love everything about it, and I love that I'm not the expert. Like, everybody looks at me for baseball opinions and hot takes and all this as the expert. Like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? Now I'm the one lobbing questions and peppering questions.
I think everybody needs that, right?
I think so, yeah. I think so. So, like, I couldn't be farther from, like, an expert, or I have no adept knowledge. Every single weekend that I watch, I'm learning something new, and I'm learning about a new fighter, a new style of fighting. And I love everything about it. It's quickly. I'm baseball, football. It's quickly vaulted into, like, that's my Saturdays. College football.
Yeah.
TV1 or TV2.
Right.
And then if it's a good fight card, that's on TV1. So, and I'm just sitting there, click, click, click. I love it.
I love it. Yeah, you know, when I look at mixed martial arts, you mentioned it's sort of made for social media and things like that. This is a sport that sort of predated social media by living on the internet in the way that it did, because there was a time this wasn't on pay-per-view. Like, it wasn't on anything but, like, certain satellite channels, because it had gotten kicked off of most cable companies. And, you know, I look at you mentioned COVID and the pandemic. It was, it was one of the positive things, the few positive things during that experience, I think, for a mixed martial arts fan, because everybody was coming to my sport. You know what I mean? When I think about it, like, there are several moments for fans to come into mixed martial arts, one being the Ultimate Fighter. That was huge in 2005. And then it was, you know, the Ronda Rousey era, when Ronda was, you know, armbarring everybody, and then it was Brock Lesnar's era, and then it was Conor McGregor's era, and now I think we also see an influx of fans that came in during COVID, because I don't know what people would have done, because it was the only sport to watch.
And God bless you guys for that was out in the Middle East, correct?
It was Fight Island,
At Fight Island in the Middle
and
East.
then,
God bless you guys for
Apex.
that, and the Apex as well. Yeah. I don't know. You said the only two good things to come out of 2020 were you guys blowing up, and I tell this people as not even a joke, actually, it's dead serious. Animal shelters are running out of dogs to adopt.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
that was the only 2 things.
Yeah.
Out of all coronavirus, and hopefully it's gone for good and everything. But like I said, I love everything about the sport, and just being kind of a sponge, absorbing all of the knowledge that I don't have. And I'm like the 1%. Like, I got light years to go before I would consider myself even close to an expert at this sport. But I cannot wait for tomorrow either. I cannot wait.
We're going to call upon that knowledge here in a moment and do some trivia. But you mentioned tomorrow, Israel Adesanya taking on Alex Pereira. It is your main event at Madison Square Garden. What are your thoughts on this fight? Do you have a pick either way?
I think Adesanya is going to win.
Okay.
So I'll start as obviously I saw the kickboxing match. Everybody's seen that knockout.
Right.
I'll ask you a question. Was that just a lucky connection, or can this guy actually put up a fight? I know he's the big underdog right now. Is he plus 280 or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah. So
plus
like
280.
I would say this when it comes to the idea of shots being lucky, I don't think there is such a thing. You throw something.
It's with intent.
Right. Low percentage, maybe yes, but the idea that anybody connects on something out of pure luck, not a thing. But I will say this, and this is why I think Israel Adesanya is the favorite. This isn't a kickboxing match. Yes, it might take place and look like a kickboxing match, but it's not a kickboxing match. And the element that mixed martial arts brings to ground fighting, even if it doesn't actually go to the floor, the idea that it could changes the way that people fight and changes the way that people stand. Like, you can't have a straight boxing stance in mixed martial arts. Even if you don't think your opponent's going to take you down,
Right.
you can't square up.
With the Josh Paul fights and everything.
Right.
So, you'll see guys like out here like it's an MMA fight.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
no, 100%. And like that's why MMA fighters that go over to boxing don't do as well because they have to change their entire base. So what I will say is I think that Alex Pereira is a very dangerous fighter. We know that he has the ability to stop anybody, and he has stopped Israel Adesanya in kickboxing. But I will say that this is Adesanya's octagon. He's the champion. He's been in the spotlight in the UFC and inside Madison Square Garden in the past. So that's why you kind of got to lean toward him. But I will say this about Pereira. He's going to have to be perfect because Adesanya is going to be able to be tactical and be the athlete that he needs to be to win the game. We've seen that. There's a bit of a knock against Izzy for fighting a little more conservatively compared to what he was as a contender because he had like a 41% finishing rate
Much
as a
more
contender.
To lose, right?
Right, but the athletes as a contender weren't the cream of the crop that he's fighting as a champion. So you think about every time he's defending his title, he's taking on the #1 contender.
Right.
That was not the case when he was coming up and establishing himself. I think that Adesanya can win this fight. I think that he probably will win this fight, but he's going to have to fight to win the game and not necessarily fight to stop Alex Pereira. If it happens, great. But you got to go out there and do what you need to do to make sure you get your hand raised.
As the meathead fan, I don't like hearing that.
But it's a game.
Of course it's a game. I'm looking for, cracked skulls and broken jaws and stuff and all the theatrics and fireworks. I want to see someone crumple on that floor. But that in doing some research on this fight, that is what they say. I say they as in just like general pundits and all that.
Right.
Is that there is a chance it goes all 5, right? Like a solid chance, it sounds like.
I don't know what the prop is on that, but I would probably say that's a minus money bet. To have it go the distance, So, and that's what you're going to get in high-level MMA fights.
That's not a bad thing either. That's not a bad thing.
I think it's beautiful. I love tactical fights, but I'm a hardcore MMA fan. I get that there's other people out there that just want carnage.
I always said this as when I was not a fan. Like back when, like Chuck Liddell, and I'm talking years and years ago at this point. It's like there were people in my circle, like mostly like real life friends, not even work friends or anything, that said, "Oh, you should check out UFC. You should check out. You really like you." I'm like, it could end in 20 seconds. It's like, who knows what's going to happen? If I'm paying $75 or whatever it is for a pay-per-view, I want to see. I want to be entertained for not just like, yes, knockouts are great, but I want to be entertained for an extended amount of time as well.
Yeah.
And that was always like my worry when watching an MMA fight before is like it could be 10 seconds in a round. Not that it can't happen in boxing as well or other sport.
Right.
But it's like, oh, you could just crumple someone in 10 seconds of the first round.
You know what I'm going to say, though? This is the beautiful thing about mixed martial arts and the UFC in particular. If it doesn't come in the main event, I promise you it happened beforehand.
Exactly. Right.
So.
Yep.
All right, now it's time to do some trivia.
Here we go. What's your name again, man? Josh.
Now, Josh is a gentleman who, Josh, I might have to get a restraining order against you. Every time I come to town, you're like hanging out.
No, these are the fans you want, man. These are the boots in the ground fans.
We out here. That's for sure.
Don't out me. I pretty much pay Josh to follow me around. But we're giving Josh an opportunity to win this awesome UFC collectible. It is a piece of the mat that was featured here in this fight where Michael Chandler kicks Tony Ferguson in the face. You loved that moment, didn't you?
I loved everything about it. I bought that pay-per-view. I was losing sleep over that.
Perfect. All right, so let's see who's going to walk away with this. I've got 10 questions for you guys. We're going to go 5 and 5. Josh, you get to pick. Who's going to go first? You were White Sox Dave. All right. You ready? Pressure's on you. It's like college football. You got to decide whether he needs to go for the extra or the field goal or the touchdown.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Let's get it, bro.
All right, so let's press this button over here. Hang on, over here. This guy's yelling in my ear over here. All right, so White Sox Dave, here we go. Here is your first question. Question 1, what year did the first UFC event take place in New York State? Was it A, 1995, B, 2006, C, 2016, or D, 2022?
I'm going to assume that in its infancy, it was difficult to get a license to have a combat sport in UFC, so not 95. I'm going to say 2006.
2006. Final answer?
Final answer.
Final answer. The answer is 1995.
95, damn.
UFC 7 took place in Buffalo.
I would have lost that one.
Oh, see?
I thought it was 2016 when it actually got sanctioned.
Right.
But it was a trick question because it was the first original.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So okay.
Yeah. He's a tricky guy.
Yeah.
This is how I feel good about myself, making people get questions wrong. All right, question 2 for
Damn,
White
I got a
Sox
good
Dave.
tan on TV. What's up?
Question 2, Dave. In what year did the first UFC event take place in Madison Square Garden?
Oh, I just answered. Oh,
2016, final answer.
There we go.
just answered.
2016.
You gave me one.
Got to keep your
Hey,
mouth
I
shut, Josh.
gotta throw my boy a bone sometime, you know.
I knew that was recent because we were already in New York at that time.
Right.
And I remember like 90% of Barstool's workforce went to that, so I would have known that one too.
There we go. So,
Because
all right.
I remember them talking about how it was the first time UFC it was at Madison Square Garden. Or
Well, at least you're on the board here.
We're on the board.
All right. So let's
Was
go.
it 1-1?
Well, yeah, it's a 1-1. Yeah.
I haven't gone yet.
You haven't gone yet.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I thought it was alternating.
It is alternating. He's a White Sox fan. You got to let him go.
Yeah, I feel you.
All right, question 3. What was the main event at UFC 205? Was it A, Aldo versus McGregor, B, Silva versus Weidman, C, Alvarez versus McGregor, or D, Usman versus Covington? This was the first event in Madison Square Garden.
2005 or
UFC 205.
UFC 205. It's 282.
281.
281. At Vegas is 282. I'm gonna say A, Aldo versus McGregor.
He says Aldo versus McGregor. The answer is Alvarez versus
God
McGregor.
damn.
That's when Conor McGregor defeat Eddie Alvarez in the main event to
Two champ.
become the double champ. Josh is right. So now you got 2 more here. You're on the board though, Dave. So now question 4. Who did Jorge Masvidal beat to win
Nate
the BMF?
Diaz.
Yes, you're right. Good job. Good job.
That was easy.
You don't even need me to give you the multiple. All right.
Nope.
So
There's
now we
only
got
one
2.
BMF.
All right, here we go. Last question for Dave. Who was the last man to defeat Jorge Masvidal at lightweight? Was it Al Iaquinta, Gilbert Melendez, Michael Chiesa, or Rustam Tobulov?
This is where my novice knowledge. I couldn't even tell you who one of those guys are. I'm sorry to those watching.
Man.
I'm gonna. All right, you're not gonna go. What was Diaz? I don't even know what Diaz was because I'm gonna say you're not gonna have the same letter for Diaz. I think it was C. Was it?
I don't know.
I'm gonna say B. Gilbert Melendez. Actually, I know who that is. I do know who that
Can
is.
you go Gilbert
I'm
Melendez?
gonna go B. Yeah.
How many do you have right?
2.
2?
That's it.
You only have 2. Sorry. Al Iaquinta.
Not a clue.
He's a New York guy.
I should
He's a
watch
Long
that fight or
Island
no?
guy.
You was just talking
oh,
to
he's
his
Long
coach,
Island.
man.
Yeah, you were just
there
Ray
we go.
Longo's his coach.
Come on, man.
Joe,
And
are you? Where are you from in New York?
I'm in the Bronx, baby. The X. Stand up. Where the X at? You guys.
You got one. You got
Well,
one.
we got one. We got one. We got
You
one.
don't follow me on social media. I'm
I
assuming.
don't have social media.
That's good. Keep
Yeah.
that like that.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't like me and be all jolly with me right now.
Nah,
being
bro.
From the Bronx, I kind of trash talk.
It's
the
all
Bronx a
right.
little bit.
We could take it the same way we could dish
Oh
it.
no, they can't.
They
are
can't.
The
I
most
can't. I can't.
sensitive people on the planet.
Come on,
All
man.
right. So
I heard Chicago was the most sensitive people on the planet.
No, we're thick Midwesterners.
Yeah?
Oh yeah.
that's true. That's true. All right. So Dave got 2. Josh, you need to get 3 to win.
Yeah. I'll make it. I'll lose. I'll miss the first 2 just to make it.
Okay.
dang.
Okay. I like that. I like
All
that.
right. That's kind of cocky. All right. Here
It
we
is
go.
cocky.
Question number 1 for Josh. In what
shit.
New York City was John Jones born in? Was it A, New York City, B, Albany, C, White Plains, or D, Rochester?
Damn. I'm gonna go D. I don't know, but it's. I don't think it's the city, and I don't think it's White Plains. So I'm gonna go D.
All right. The
Somewhere
answer
far.
is Rochester. Good job.
Oh my God.
Isn't
On the
White
board.
Plains the
Jesus.
I just picked a random city and it said White Plains. So here we go.
I
I don't even know if they have a hospital in White Plains. to be
White
honest with
Plains
you.
is a county.
I don't know.
suburbs? Yeah, you're close enough.
You know. All right. So on the board, Josh.
It's a
2
place
more.
that has people.
2 more to win here, Josh. Question right here. Before capturing a UFC belt, Matt Serra earned his BJJ black belt under which Gracie? A, Hoyce, B, Hoyler, C, Victor, or D, Henzo?
D. Henzo.
D, Henzo. Let's see what it
That's
is.
a little bit easy.
There it is, Henzo Gracie. Good job.
I'm sorry.
He's tied you. He's tied you.
He said he was gonna. He said he was gonna.
I know. He's a liar.
Throw the first 2
He's a liar.
questions. He's
Nah, I'm gonna
lying.
throw these 2 now.
All right. You're going to make it interesting. All right. So question here for you, Josh. At UFC 217, 3 champions lost their titles. Who fought in the main event? Was it Michael Bisping against George St. Pierre?
D. I threw you a bone.
D. Woodley?
Yeah, D. Woodley.
All right. Yeah, you're wrong.
Yeah, I actually.
That one you knew?
Pierre, Michael Bisping. I think I would have.
You would've got that one?
Yeah, I think I
Okay.
would have guessed that one. Yeah.
All right, these 2 I'm gonna play for real. So.
All right. You just need 1 more to win.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
1 more to win.
It
Here we
wouldn't
go.
be fair with 3 easy answers, you know.
There we go. What season of The Ultimate Fighter
Damn.
did Matt Serra win to get a shot at George St. Pierre? Was it A, season 1, B, season 2, C, season 3?
You know what it is?
4.
Season 4, baby.
Season 4.
Comeback
Win.
season.
There you go. Josh, that is yours.
Woo!
Nicely done, Josh, picking up a bit of UFC history. You can get yours.
Hey,
as well.
bro, it
These
was a
like-
pleasure.
It was
Do it
a
again. Do it
pleasure.
again. Paper. Paper beats rock. Nah, just playing, bro.
All right.
No, rock smashes right through paper.
You're right. You're right.
Let's-
TJ in the house.
Let's see if Josh would have got this last one correct.
Yeah,
as
let's
well.
see what's up.
Here we go. Matt Serra won gold at welterweight. What other weight class did he compete in inside the UFC? Be careful. Matt Serra's from here, so if you say heavyweight, he's going to kill you.
It's gonna
okay?
be there.
C, baby.
C, lightweight.
Whee!
You're right, Josh. Good job, Josh. Nicely done,
TJ,
sir.
it's a pleasure, man. I'll see
Always-
you next
always
year.
fun seeing you, sir.
You know, the annual visits for
Hey,
me, not
next
for New
next
York,
year,
for me.
Or here, next time, do you just like? Are you one of those groupies that follows the band around?
All the way.
So you just go all.
Bro, I'm
around
going
the
to
country?
UFC Orlando.
You
Dang.
would be in Vegas.
I could. I mean,
Next
money's
time
long.
They're in Chicago. I promise this. I will be so up to speed on everything UFC. all
Next
the
time they go to
Yeah.
Chicago, I'm
And
going to be
we'll
there.
have a-
I'm
we'll
going to
do it
find
again.
you. I'm going to find you,
We'll
bro.
be doing this right again, and I will beat you.
All right.
Deal?
Deal.
Deal.
There we go. Chapter 1 of a trilogy.
It's locked
It's
in,
great.
boy. It's locked in. This shit is real. The rivalry is real.
Josh, enjoy that,
Hey,
sir. Thank
guys,
you, sir.
a pleasure.
Thanks, man.
Awesome stuff.
Once
You
again.
too.
You know, I want the UFC to go back to Chicago because
What's the holdup?
I don't know, but I will tell you this. Of all the places that the UFC goes, Chicago is the only arena that has an ice cream bar for the press. It's true.
That's
Make your own sundae in the press room.
is that on the little cart?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah.
about. It is a beautiful touch that the UC has.
Yeah,
It's
very nice.
beautiful.
It's very nice. So
I load that thing up with everything too.
You have to,
Yeah,
right?
you have to. You can't skimp out. You
Yeah.
have to do it big.
So I've been destroying pizza here in New York. You've been living here for a little while, right?
I've been here a week, yeah.
Okay, a week? Really? Oh yeah, you're in Chicago.
I'm in Chicago,
right.
yeah.
Right, but Barstool's out here.
Yeah, Barstool
Right,
has
got
his
it.
headquarters out here.
So,
I'm in
so
Chicago.
when you come out here, how do you do your New York pizza?
So
Because I know Chicago.
It's
you know,
different.
people
It's
feel a
much
lot
different.
different about pizza.
I'll say this: if you're listening on a national audience, which you all are, I feel like I have to put that disclaimer out there because I'm typically talking to more specific Chicago audience. But everybody assumes that we just shovel deep dish pizza down our throats.
I mean,
the 2-inch thick.
Well, you
deep
can't.
dish.
You can have like one piece, then you gotta
Exactly.
quit.
That is such a fallacy. We
Right.
like it. It's something that we typically consume when we have friends from out of town in.
Yeah.
That maybe once or twice a year.
It's like when you live in Vegas, you don't go to the Strip unless your friends or family come in.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Same analogy, same principle. We like our pizza razor thin. We cut it in squares.
Mm-hmm.
Legend has it because it's easier to ration out to. That's what they used to do during the Great Depression at orphanages.
Right, yeah.
So you get the little squares. You could give 5 squares to this kid, 5 whatever. If we were to cut them in triangles, I think our thin crust pizza and New York's thin crust pizza are very similar. I
Really?
mean, there's differences. You guys use like vodka sauce and stuff. Or I say you guys. I know you're not from here, but like New Yorkers. But people assume that because we cut it in squares, it tastes different. That's just how they cut it.
Right. Yeah. No.
It
that
doesn't cut.
no.
It's cheese, tomato sauce, and crust.
That's right.
Right.
That's
But
all I need in life.
We're also in the Midwest. We're in cattle and dairy country.
Right,
We
of
have
course.
the best of the best.
Oh yeah.
And it's right in our backyard.
Yeah.
So people are like, oh, New York for Chicago. I love New York pizza. It's completely different from Chicago pizza, and I think that's perfectly fine to say. I prefer Chicago.
Right.
Obviously, I'm biased. I just had John's on Bleecker Street. Have you had
Yep,
it?
I have.
It's my favorite pizza in this city.
I've
New York
been
City.
there 3 times this week.
It's
3 times.
I ate an entire 16-inch myself the
Nice.
other night.
Very nice.
And I felt bad about it. I would do it again.
I wouldn't feel bad about it.
No regrets.
No. You're the most pleasant White Sox fan I've ever met in my life.
I'm not typically. It's the off season.
Okay.
But they have
Right.
it's new into the off season, so they haven't pissed me off yet.
All right.
Which they will do.
Okay.
They will do inevitably.
Well, you and I can be friends until April.
Until April, right?
Dave, appreciate you stopping by.
I appreciate
Thank
you guys
sir.
having me. This was a ton of fun. I cannot wait for this event tomorrow.
Yeah. Enjoy it.
And like I said, it's perfect sport.
I hope to have you back maybe when the UFC in Chicago.
Anytime you guys want, I'm here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
There he is, White Sox Dave, with a hell of a handshake, man. Jeez.
Yeah.
Hurt my
Rocks
hand.
for hands. I
Dang.
want to show you guys my left hook.
Okay. All right. Don't show me that.
I'm going to
please.
show Pearl Gonzalez that.
Okay.
Did you hear about that?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
And Pearl's a handful, so she
I
might
know
give it
she
back.
is. I told her she has full autonomy to put me in the hospital.
Okay.
And in fact, if she doesn't, she's an embarrassment to our city.
Okay.
We
Well,
share a city, her and I.
You're setting yourself up for some pain.
That's fine. I can handle it. Look at this thick skull.
Okay. Sure. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. White Sox Dave, kind enough to join us here at Extra Rounds. We are inside Dave & Buster's right off of Times Square. Of course, tomorrow night, UFC 281 inside the Mecca, Madison Square Garden. Middleweight Championship of the World on the line. Israel Adesanya taking on Alex Pereira. It is a familiar foe, and this time it is for the UFC's middleweight crown. Starting to wrap up here, I want to thank everyone for coming out. Ray Longo, I mean, this is his city. And he was kind enough to come out and join us here at Dave & Buster's. If you are not going to UFC 281 and you are in the area, Dave & Buster's is where it's at. Come here, watch the fights, hang out, eat, drink, and play. And if you do so, I think Ally Quint is going to join me tomorrow night right here in Dave & Buster's in Times Square. I want to thank all of the crew that makes this possible when we hit the road. Our producers, Frankie Redzeppi, Steve Coyne, Walker Van Way, working hard. By the way, go over to UFC Fight Pass and check out some wrestling action right now. You got a battle at Bragg going on in Fort Bragg. We got Campbell taking on Michigan as well as North Carolina. So, we always talk about combat sports living and breathing over at UFC Fight Pass. Well, now wrestling, once again, has stepped into our world, and you can too. Right now over at UFC Fight Pass, and we'll get you a deal on that first month, 50% off. Just use the promo code Extra Rounds. We are back tomorrow here at Dave & Buster's. You got your prelims airing on UFC Fight Pass. And again, the big show going down in Madison Square Garden. Izzy versus Pereira. Esparza versus Zhang Weili. Poirier taking on Michael Chandler. What more do you need? There's a lot more action to even get into it, but we're running out of time. So I want to thank White Sox Dave, Ray Longo, Josh for winning a little bit of history from the UFC collectibles. And, of course, the UFC heavyweight champ himself, Francis Ngannou, for stopping by. If you missed any part of the broadcast, you can check it out on demand, YouTube, Facebook, and, of course, anytime over at UFC Fight Pass. All right, that's it. I'm TJ DeSantis. Thanks for going a few extra rounds right here on UFC Fight Pass. We'll see you tomorrow for more coverage of UFC 281. Have a good night.
Reality.